Well, hi everyone. I'm Jarrett with a retro review of WCW Thunder for May 17th, 2000. I found the episode of Thunder that broke me, guys. This one was fucking rotten. I watched every single Thunder episode as it happened, back during the Monday Night Wars. A lot of times I would just watch it on tape, and I would watch WWE programming live, especially from 99 on to 2001, because WCW was in the fucking shitter. But holy fuck, if I thought that any other episodes of Thunder were bad, this was one of the worst. It was 85% talking, 200% brawls and all that shit. And my math is not nearly as good as Steiner math. And Steiner also appeared in this. This show was a fucking atrocity and a fucking mess. And I have no idea how this wrestling company still existed till March of 2001. I have no fucking idea. The good news is they had Shivani, Tenay, and Heenan on commentary. 3 very good commentators instead of 2 commentators and a schlub on Nitro. Though Hudson and Shivani are definitely a great duo and would be a great duo in the few months of 2001 until WCW was sold off to Vince. And oh boy, that invasion angle. But I'll get to that as, when it comes along sometime next year. Because at this rate, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of retro reviews. Anyway, let's talk about the Millionaires Club and the New Blood brawling around a bus. That's how we start this shit. The New Blood arrives in a school bus. I'm not even fucking kidding. It's fucking ridiculous. We then get the announcers talking about Flair winning the title on the previous Nitro. And if you did not see my review of that, check out the old school wrestling reviews and documentary reviews playlist. Easy for me to say. Check that out because I really enjoyed reviewing that one. But we have the Millionaires Club led by Hogan. He's talking about how we have the keys to their bus. Hogan committing theft right there. Stealing the keys to the bus. But okay, it is what it is. Heenan, of course, getting comments in on Hogan, which was always great. Heenan, one of the few bright spots of this show. Though Shivani and Tenay were certainly fine. Here's Douglas with the New Blood. Hogan challenges Kidman to a match at Great American Bash and says if he beats him, he gets a shot at Bash at the Beach 2000. Fucking hell, I keep forgetting that pay-per-view is going to be coming up soon. And with the way I'm reviewing these a few days in advance of the 20-year anniversary of these shows happening, don't be surprised if I just start posting a whole bunch of these reviews up in a goddamn block just to give you guys entertainment and to drive myself further and further into the goddamn insanity realm. And insanity realm, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm also going to make this as uncomfortable as possible, which, if I ever do merch, should be a shirt. So, we have a brawl. Everybody's brawling, and then backstage, Shane Douglas, by the way, is running this show, which explains completely why the show is bad. But honestly, whoever creatively came up with this, it was probably Russo, explains a lot. Explains why this show was so goddamn incoherent and made no sense. Douglas is trying to band everybody together, and the Filthy Animals leave. They're like, we're not fighting your battles for you. And they go to the ring. And then here's MIA. We get an 8-man tag match. Major Guns was in the wrong corner for a little bit, though she sticks her tits in Disco Inferno's face. Boy, guys, we are in some deep shit with this goddamn promotion at this point. The match gets thrown out after a bit because Sean Stasiak comes in, helps Filthy Animals, and then here's Booker. And he dumps Disco Inferno on the ramp that they had to the ring, and Disco takes a horrible bump because Disco couldn't bump for shit. I have no idea why he was ever allowed in any wrestling company, WCW or Impact. Why did Impact ever bring him in? Hell, why WCW bring him in? I'd really like to know who brought him in, because whoever did, they weren't being very smart. If it was somebody that was smart, they were probably goddamn drunk. Or said, we need an idiot on our show that's not named Steammongo McMichael. Steammongo McMichael is a former U.S. champion. Oh, God, I'm remembering all the bad stuff from WCW. Hogan then calls out Horace. This match was bad because Horace was in the clutches of the New Blood. And we get a table 1 minute in. A table set up 1 minute in. And then Kidman comes in and attacks Horace because Tori seems to be glomming on to Horace. And then Kidman gets put through a table, and then Horace was hit with a chair earlier and gets pinned. And then Hulk kisses Tori Wilson, and Tori apparently likes it. And this is Bobby Heenan's exact quote. She likes it. She's like, Mikey, she'll kiss anything. And I actually had to pause the show because Heenan had me dying laughing because Heenan is just that goddamn good on commentary. Even at this stage of his life and his career, when he didn't give a shit about WCW, and you couldn't blame him because the company was run by goddamn idiots and being run in the goddamn ground. Thanks, Russo. Thanks, you ballless wonder. Those kids aren't yours, or if they are, hopefully they leave you and go find a real father, because you ain't one. And this was just fucking right. Heenan, though, made that work. I mean, that line is fucking great. And then Lex attacks Chuck Palumbo in a gym, beats him with the little, Flexi Club thing. Flexi Lexi hits Chuck with the Flexi Lexi Club. That was hard to say. And then he throws him in a trash can, or puts a trash can on him, and throws him in a dirty laundry basket. This is how you build up new talent. To be fair, Chuck Palumbo, paired with Lex Luger, wasn't exactly a feud that benefited anybody. Lex wasn't really all that good, was not natural as a babyface, even though he was trying to get to Liz. They would phase Liz out of TV pretty soon after this. I mean, I don't recall her being on a ton of TV. Though, to be fair, that storyline where Russo was controlling Liz, the only way he could get a woman anywhere near him, is probably through Stockholm Syndrome. So Terry Funk then is challenged by Ernest Miller for the Hardcore Championship. And he goes backstage immediately. We get a, garage door spot. They battle into the parking lot. Ralph Fitz and Norman Smiley are selling bootleg shirts. Ernest Miller gets upset at Norman Smiley trying to sell him a shirt during the match. And then Norman Smiley hits Ernest Cat Miller over the head with something. And after a car was destroyed, a junker car, Terry Funk pins Ernest Miller in the trunk of the car. To be fair, that's exactly where Ernest Miller should have been left. Just get him out of here and get him out of wrestling. Somebody call his mama because he's locked in a trunk. So this was shit. Though, hey, good on Terry Funk. He keeps winning. He keeps on winning. Why was Terry Funk in WCW? Well, he lent some credibility, I guess. And I like Terry, but it was just a mess at this point. The hardcore division was shit. And then Mike Awesome talks about Canyon, talks about DDP. It's going to be an ambulance match. Great American Bash 2000. Great. A match we haven't seen since the previous Nitro. They did about 50 ambulance matches in a month, it seemed. 50 ambulance matches, 500 brawls, and Russo driving the company further into the shitter. So, here's Scott Steiner for a match. And Mike Awesome doesn't look very happy because I believe a Spring Stampede, he lost in like a few minutes to Scott Steiner. And then Goldberg's music hits after Scott Steiner had been beating up Mike Awesome. And here it is. Tank Abbott is, impersonating Goldberg. The crowd really wants Goldberg. It's a 3-on-1 match. The crowd keeps chanting Goldberg. Goldberg's monster truck shows up in the arena. They must have had a hell of an opening. Almost as wide as, I don't know. Well, I'm not really going to say that. I don't want to pick on any of the women here. Maybe as wide as the space between Russo's ears. There we go. I'll go with that. The monster truck gets in there, and then Scott Steiner throws Steiner and Tank Abbott onto the hood of it, and then the monster truck takes off safely, very safely, because that would have been a hell of a drop for any of those guys, for Rick Steiner or for Tank Abbott for what he was worth. Though he did at one point beat up one of the announcers on Nitro. Good job there. And then Scott does that. We get Mike Gainaway in an ambulance, locking himself in the ambulance. So I guess he loses? I guess it was an ambulance match? I don't know. Mike today interviews Canyon. The audio was out for a little bit. It was kind of funny. Canyon then is in a halo. And cue the song. He's talking about injuries, that he suffered from Slamboree, that horrible bump in the same venue where Owen Hart passed away less than a year before. Good job being tactful, you sons of bitches. If I'm talking about people being tactful, that's saying something. He doesn't know if he'll walk again. This was terrible. It would lead to Canyon becoming positively Canyon and turning on DDP. We then get Shane Douglas trying to rally the New Blood, and they laugh and leave because Chronic is going to come and beat up Shane Douglas. And oh, look, they're beating up Shane Douglas in the next segment. I think it was a match, but Douglas, was rotten. Shane Douglas at this point was like totally washed. He'd been washed for a couple years. Injuries and personal issues that he seems to have cleaned up so very good. I don't know about the injuries. I imagine they accumulated. But he seems to have cleaned his personal issues up, and that's good for him. Even if I'm not a fan of him, good on him for cleaning up his life. So the wall then comes down because you had Shane Douglas, throw the wall to the walls, if you will. And Chronic beat him up, so wall hits him with the table and then puts Shane Douglas through the table soon afterwards. And then throws Shane Douglas back in. Shane Douglas is trying to get Chronic, who's been beating him up for the last 5 minutes, to go after the wall. And they say, nope, high tide. And there we go. And then here's Rick, 15 times champs. Champ chance. There we go. He's, talking about being a 15-time champion. Didn't know if he was going to be. I think it was in Biloxi, Mississippi, if I recall. No, it was in the Cajun Dome. It was in the Cajun Dome. That's right, because Lash LaRue said something and I didn't understand it at all. I got nothing against Lash LaRue. It's just he never really got a lot of mic time. So he goes insane, talks about Russo wanting to grow up to be like Ric Flair, but he had no muscles, and he scared all the girls and everything, and he made all the girls cry. And it was good shit because he was ripping on Vince Russo, because Vince Russo was a cancer to pro wrestling. Always has been, always will be. And the fact that he was involved in any other companies after Vince McMahon, the talented Vince, basically gave him a job and, was charitable in giving him a job. The fact that he was involved in any other companies after this was proof that companies just like pissing money away. Vince Russo wasn't even worth a goddamn dime in wrestling. It was only thanks to McMahon that he was ever seen as anything good. So he just mocking him and everything. Jeff Jarrett comes out, and then we get Crowbar and David. This would be referenced later. Here's Arn Anderson with a pipe, and he says he will help David learn how to be a man. Says, you got to get rid of Vince Russo. Yeah, you're rid of that New York cockroach or wet rat or whatever the hell he said. So we get a match tonight. It's going to be Jarrett. It's supposed to be Jarrett, Arn, I think it was supposed to be Flair, Arn against Crowbar and David, but Arn's retired, so he couldn't wrestle. So we get Jeff Jarrett versus Ric Flair, or some kind of combination or whatever. There was not really a whole lot of stuff to these matches. We get Vampiro wearing a white mask, and then here's Sting, and then Vampiro on the stage, and maybe you want to be like me. Maybe you secretly like me, Sting. It's going to be an Inferno match, which would later become a Human Torch match at Great American Bash 2000. Crap. Fuck. I forgot about this pay-per-view. I forgot about it. I keep forgetting that we're getting closer to that. These rants are going to be fun. I hope you guys are enjoying the fact that I'm driving myself completely batshit insane with this stuff. It is kind of fun to look back and revisit all this shit. So anyway, suddenly, in an Inferno match, you got to set your opponents on fire. Or your opponent on fire. And then the ropes suddenly catch fire. Barely, because there's that, that flamey liquid or whatever that, causes, it's like the stuff that Kane was soaked in, flame liquid, you're soaking in it. So it catches fire. It's really, really bad. Really, really fucking bad. And then we have Flair versus Jarrett. It was like maybe with 6 minutes left. And then David and Crowbar attack. David Flair, that is. Daphne, for what she was worth, was there. And I actually liked Daphne, but she wasn't really all... She really was just a side piece here, except she factored into the finish somehow. Here's Nash. Flair uses this as a distraction to get the inside cradle and pin Daphne to win the match. It was a non-title match, by the way. Though Flair being the Cruiserweight champion at this point after pinning Daphne would have been hilarious. Jarrett then gets chased away by Nash. And then Flair... collapses on the stage like he had a heart attack. The stress was too much for him. This is actually something they went with. Because it worked so well before Starrcade 98 that they had to do it again. It was a bad idea. So then we get, the bus. The New Blood runs into the bus. And then the Millionaires Club comes and tips over the goddamn bus. That's exactly what it was. Because they couldn't get away because Hogan had the keys because theft. And they tip over the bus. And then we have the monster truck show up and go to run into the bus as they fade to black. So that was exactly what Nitro and Thunder were in 2000. This was exactly what you fucking need to have. So anyway, yeah, this was shit. God, I had to clean all that shit up. This was a very, very bad, horrible episode. They were hyping up the whole thing with Goldberg because he'd been, gone for a while. But anyway, that's going to be the end of that. I hope you enjoyed these retro reviews of me driving myself insane. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.